Hey, Thrand here.
Hi, this is Eldgrim.
And we have a very special episode, kind of an urgent one, because I've had people asking me what I thought, or what Eldgrim thought, about the new Star Wars Episode 7 trailer that's been put out, and it's being directed and done by J.J. Abrams.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, the big thing that everybody's got a bunch of controversy over is there is a Cruciform lightsaber. And it's something like this, in theory. It's got big old long...
Quillons on it.
Yeah, Quillons, or Crossguard, and each side has a, I guess, an emitter, or a nipple, or whatever it would be, that, I guess that doesn't sound right.
That kind of guides...
Right, that has them shooting straight out. And it looks like he's holding it back some. Like if I'm holding it here, I'm holding it back away from the Quillons, or the actual Crossguard. This one here was made by a friend of mine named Sean Loft. Those are a lot longer than what I normally do. I normally do them a little bit shorter. I normally will try to get a bend going forward slightly at an angle. But these are kind of curved back, and I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to fight with this. So I bring this up as an example that when I did use them, I didn't hit myself with them. And I was thinking these might be kind of, dangerous. Now, the thing with the idea of these things that everybody's thinking of being dangerous is they're looking at not all the lore and things that are in the universe of
Star Wars, yeah.
Star Wars. They're looking at the old movies. And what they've showed us is a lightsaber is flying through the air and hits something, it just cuts it in half instantly. It's just like a laser or something, just instantly straight through. The thing is with them, we have the idea that if this is near his arm too, that it will set his arm on fire. I mean, it's hot. So if it's even near his arm or close to his body, if it came inside...
It's like having an acetylene torch near your skin.
Right,
yeah.
Where I don't think that the lightsaber works that way, because you even see Luke hold it directly up in front of his face in the first Star Wars. It has a containment field.
It's a magnetic stabilizing field that
Right.
stabilizes the shape of the plasma.
Right, and that's why if it didn't have it, when they hit, they wouldn't bounce off each other and resist each other. That's what causes the
pushing and the...
Correct, right. So when you start looking at that, there's lots of things you could do where these wouldn't be as dangerous if they were actually emitted that way. And if you look at the actual photograph, I noticed it looks like it has some kind of an aura around it. It looks different.
And that's probably an intensified magnetic stabilizing field. So maybe the more intense the stabilizing field is, that magnetic stabilizing field can protect you more and more. So maybe the blade portion of it has a lighter magnetic stabilizing field so that the plasma cuts easier.
Correct. They have training swords, supposedly. And if you look up the trainer lightsabers, they can hit each other with them and cause bruises and whelps and not even burn each other. But if they hit extremely hard and get out of control with them, it might go through the containment field, but it would be a mild burn, because it pretty much resists the whole thing. It doesn't allow it to go all the way in, and the blade's not a full plasma beam. It's controlled.
Right.
So, yeah, so these could be made that way. Maybe they're just to stop incoming blades.
Yeah.
I still think that if it was curved out slightly, it would be nicer. And
45 degrees at the axis, yeah.
Right, and the other concern is, I mean, the one concern was him just hitting himself. But like I said, I don't think that's going to happen easily. If you look at longsword techniques, the way you use them, it's hard to see on here, but you're not normally hitting yourself. If you're parrying, you're not hitting yourself. It's going to be in a situation where your Quillons aren't really going to hit your arm, even if it goes inside. If I was using it one-handed even, just to show... to give you a little better idea is what I'm saying. Every time you do something, the Quillons aren't really hitting you. There is even a good distance there if you held it back as far as he's holding it in the trailer. But let's say that they did do that. They could make those very easily where they wouldn't be dangerous to you, but they'd do their job. That's one thing I was looking at. Or even you could turn them off if you didn't want them on. But the big problem a lot of people are having is they're looking at these emitters that we brought up. Spigots, cocks, or whatever... yeah, whatever you want to call the thing that spews it out. Sorry. But
it's an emitter.
Correct.
It's an emitter shroud is what it's called.
When everybody knows when you're fighting with a sword, if it hits where it doesn't bite the blade and it slides down, that's what Quillons are for, is to catch the blade. And it always hits in this niche normally. It doesn't hit out here. You don't catch stuff this way normally on it. Although that is possible, I guess, if you held it this way. And so people are saying that he could fight this way with it and cut with the sides, which you can. But, I mean, I honestly think that could be more dangerous in other ways of you hitting your arm trying to keep it out flat in front of you and do motions. Might be more dangerous than trying to use it in a conventional manner like a longsword like you normally would. But those can be cut off, is what the story is. So what we were going to say is we did some research, and all these people are bringing up all these different metals, and we found a bunch of metals that would work. What it was a frick.
There's frick. There's cortosis. There's ultrachrome. There's Mandalorian iron. There's song steel. All these are can be used for armors, weapons, starship armor, and even lightsaber components can be made out of those.
Correct. So that would cover that problem right there. And I know there was another.
There's a Jedi that actually started using the cross-hilted, but he's using a 45-degree angle, and he's only using one, and that's Roblio Darte.
Yeah, Roblio Darte, if I can pronounce it right.
Yeah, it's Roblio Darte.
I believe it.
I think that's out of the comics, and
it's kind of like a Psi idea, or like a Mangosh or a Jute or something,
Mm-hmm.
where you could catch stuff in it. He can catch blades in it and turn it. That's the only reason I was saying yes. You could still catch something on this if something came out down in here. You could still kind of catch it, but it's not the same extent as having an actual. Yeah, having an actual.
And I can't push the Quillons into you.
Well, that's the only thing I saw a danger of. If it was one that would cut you, let's say he has no bracers, he could have bracers made out of
the
cortosis. There's a cortosis weave. There's a bunch of different stuff that you could make bracers out of. That would protect his arm, even if it was like a real pure beam.
If the myths are right about cortosis, that bracer would probably even turn off.
But if it was a danger, he'd have to have it not this way and not that way, and then what would happen is he'd have to get hit towards the weak of the blade, and it would push it back into him.
Right.
Which it will. If you took a blow here, it's hard for me, even with two hands, to stop it from being pushed. But as long as the blows come in low, they're here, it's not going anywhere. I don't care if it's right next to my arm. If he smacks it, it's not going to be pushed into my arm because that's a strong part of my blade.
Right.
So the idea of him hurting himself with it, probably just using it, not real likely. The idea of maybe being knocked into him, if he parried properly and he parried this way and the guy hit it, the Quillons aren't really going to hit anything.
Right.
But let's say he parried this way and just kind of stuck his sword out like some, I guess, noob, just sticking it right here. Then yes, if he gets hit high, it could be pushed right back.
Right, but that goes back to our theory about the magnetic stabilizing field being stronger on the Quillons than maybe on the actual blade portion of the lightsaber.
Right. In that case, they would wound you and injure you by getting hit, and if there was extreme force, it might burn or.
Right.
But they have shields like that too, called light shields. I believe.
Right. They do have light shields. Those were carried by Jedi apprentices early on.
And I think some Jedi supposedly used them in lore that actually made them into shield type defenses, but I don't think they were used as weapons. They were used to defend.
They were strictly to defend against lightsabers and blaster bolts.
And here's the other thing. We know this is a Sith Lord that we're looking at in the trailer. It's got to be a Sith, and the reason why...
Because of the red...
Yeah, they have synthetic crystals. That's why they use the red. They don't use natural crystals that have colors like blue and green and purple.
All that, yeah.
The Jedi go to certain areas to farm these, and they have to find them by the lore. And then they have to work with them. So their blades are real nimble, easier to use. They put more skill into it, but they don't exactly have the force and power of the synthetic red. Right. So the idea is we know this is a Sith.
And the Sith were the ones who actually started the development of the lightsaber technology in the first place. So they're the masters of developing lightsaber technology. You see them in all different shapes and sizes. Pikes, double-bladed, like Darth Maul had.
Correct. That's what I was going to say. The pike type can be one-ended or double-ended, but it's more like a polearm. You have more to work with. To me, I honestly saw Darth Maul using a little short, fit together two
like
lightsabers.
A breakaway,
breakaway lightsabers, not using dual wielding, but using them like that and trying to use them like it's a staff. I saw this as being more dangerous than
having the
brilliance that I analyzed.
So to sum it all up, I don't think we can be so hasty as to call J.J. Abrams Jar Jar Abrams.
No, not at the moment.
Not at the moment. But yeah, because it's not such a bad idea. And speaking of ideas, I came up with an idea of my own. We were talking about the light shield. What if a Sith Lord made a light shield?
Oh, but actually you wanted to use it as a weapon. So I remember you had an idea of what, multiple emitters? Or
yeah, actually I have a working schematic of that.
Because it is based on
right
lightsaber technology, the disc.
Right, and on the schematic here...
On the arm, but a center boss, like a Viking center boss?
Yeah, see, so it'd be in the center boss, you'd grip your handle and have your power switch and everything inside the boss. Now, the rimming would have to be thicker going around the outside of the boss
Probably
to hold
make
all
the
your
boss
components.
out of some kind of good metal
Right,
as well.
anything from song steel to cortosis. You'd have to widen out your blade emitter channel so that you don't have that thin emitter channel that you see in most lightsabers. You'd have to make the channel wide enough to, as the crystal focuses it, or in our case, it's going to diffuse it. And that's the thing about lightsabers. Lightsabers always use a focusing crystal with the primary crystal.
To intensify the beam.
Right, which is really just all that is a lens, and that lens would be biconvex. And that biconvex lens would focus it into that blade shape. But my idea is that you use a diffusing concave lens so that it gives that fanning motion.
Right, I got you.
And
then use the actual stabilizer to hold it in the shape.
Yeah, exactly. And I decided that I wanted to use 4 emitters. And with 4 emitters, the 4 emitters would cause it to have 4 separate blade emitted.
Which you could admit which one you wanted at one
yeah,
time.
Select it. Yeah, or you
could
could have all
2
4
out, 1 out,
like
so on.
yeah, but
and
in
you
this
could use
case,
this as a weapon too.
right, but I think that you'd have to have a magnetic stabilizer to keep yourself from getting harmed
On
by
the back side, it'd be stronger than the front
side.
So
Yeah,
maybe you could burn the guy.
yeah, yeah. And
It's
it
not a
wouldn't
bad idea. Plus, I was looking at how you've got a small gap in between.
Yeah,
I wonder if you could possibly catch another lightsaber in between,
I think
or
with
even
the gaps,
have it hit and then turn it on. And
well, the gaps would be Sith.
trap
That'd be a
one off,
total
turn it on when it
Sith.
goes in between and catches.
Yeah, that'd be
And
a
then
Sith.
you could wrench it out of his hand like we do in our videos.
That'd be a Sith thing for sure.
Well, definitely a Sith Viking.
Right
Or a
now,
Jedi Viking. That
some
would be
people might
amusing.
argue that, well, what if they hit your boss or something? Well, I solved that problem by having a shroud emitter and having it set up with a separate crystal to make a shield spike.
Well,
pop
that
out
would,
or a
work
nail.
that would work just like a nail where you could use it.
Yeah.
I like your idea. That's pretty cool. And they've
And-
done everything. They have whips.
They have, yeah. they've
And
done
talking about
whips.
big swords, they have I think one's a dual force. Don't quote me on that. I may be wrong, but it's one where the blade's short,
So
kind
you
of
go
like
to a
a Shoto
Shuto,
type.
and
But then it can become long immediately and surprise the guy.
yeah.
Because instead of you having to sit there and focus it, you just hit a button.
Right, like Luke's, and most of them have a focusing dial that you have to adjust.
Oh, there's
before.
one, I believe they have a whip. I don't know if it comes from the comics or what. I was looking that up, and they actually have a method of whipping the...
The plasma field around.
Oh, and the club, which is basically a great sword.
And that's very large, and it'd be something that you'd have to be an ogre to use.
Right, you'd have to be some race that can use a sword that long and big. But what's amazing about that is they speak of them like they have mass. It has weight to it. It behaves like it has mass. So even though it doesn't, everybody thinks they're ultra light, for some reason they describe that. The larger the blade, the harder it is to wield, and the stronger the wielder has to be. And that's why they use 2 hands on them, because they're very unwieldy. Especially most Sith blades are even more powerful and not as nimble as the Jedi. So when you look at all these different aspects to the blade and every little piece of it,
Well, every bit of the lore in general.
lore, it's very plausible.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that you can do in it. I mean, if they let Darth Maul use a double-ended lightsaber that would be more dangerous in our opinion than the Quillons, then J.J. Abrams' cross-hilted lightsaber is not a bad idea.
But I'm hoping that they go into some European-style combat where you actually use the Crossguard or the Quillion. That would be awesome, instead of having... Because everything's been done kind of kendo or Japanese style.
Hey,
like
you never know.
Jiu-jitsu.
Considering the Crossguard, maybe if J.J. Abrams sees my idea for the Sith shield...
Yeah,
that might
be
show
wielding
up.
one in the movie if they have time to do it.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, I would want one of those.
I know I do. That's Viking as hell.
Because I know that the blades, sometimes when they hit the cortosis, that they go off. Well, that would be the thing to have right there, that shield. And no matter what happens, aim for spots you don't think he has armor on and use the shield to parry everything with.
Yep.
That way you wouldn't accidentally hit his crossguard if it's made of that and actually turn it off.
Yeah. True.
Honestly, for him hurting himself, if he knows how to use it properly, I think other people have come up with that idea as well. I don't think he's going to hit himself. The only thing I see is, and I do see that in the movie, and if you watch the other movies, like when Luke rages out and he's throwing blows at
Darth Vader.
that sword's bouncing all over the place.
Well, yeah, but
Vader's
that's those
having
2
trouble
magnetic
controlling.
containment fields hitting.
Right, but his rage intensified the blow, and a Jedi's force goes to the blade, increasing the damage. He could pick up anything and put that in it, supposedly.
Yeah.
He'd pick up a stick off the ground and one-shot you with it.
Right.
So the idea is that under those circumstances, if these were lethal and he had no way to defend himself on his arms or something, they might be a danger then. That's what I think. If he starts
Right on.
getting it jostled, like hit so hard,
All
he's
right.
trying to stop. Yeah, that would
Right.
be the problem. But anyway, other than that, I think it's feasible. I think that it looks like a good movie.
Yeah, I'm ready to check it out. I can't wait for it to come out in theaters.
Oh, most definitely, most certainly. But anyway, farewell.
Farewell.